everyone, so I'm going to show you another example on how to set up our own data, and I'm just going to create a brand new project. You can call it whatever you like. And I'm going to say no to TypeScript, no ESLint, no, and just hit enter here. So I'm using Nextjs 13. And once it's done, we're just going to drag and drop it over here into Visual Studio. And you should see something like this. And what I'm going to be doing is at the root of our project, I'm going to make another folder, call it data. And in here, I'm going to make a file called inventory.js. And I'll create this export const inventory. And this time, because in the last video, it looks exactly the same, but last time I used an array, I'm going to make it an object, but within this object, it has its own variable or key, and then with this key associated to it, it has an array of information. So we have book, or we could call books. So it's a bunch of books here in our array, and it's still within this object inventory. So we can set up multiple nested, arrays or objects within this inventory. I'm just showing you one way of doing it, but I'm just going to copy the data because it'll be a lot faster if I do it this way. And you can see here, I have my array of books. Same as last time, I have title, author, year published, title, author, year published, so it can iterate through all of the books in our inventory here. The only difference is how I set up these brackets, which one's opening, which one's closing, and now this one has another key that's referenced inside inventory. So we're going to see how we can reference these nested types of key value pairs. And I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go to my pages and then index.js. I'm going to delete everything between the main right here. So we just have the default template right now set up. And what I want to do is I actually want to store this information. So let's say I want to store this as an array or like an object of information in a use state. So I could first double check to make sure I have something. Let me go to import this. And because we are creating that export, whenever you're using the export const and whatever variable name, we have to put it around these curly brace brackets, and we have to call that variable inventory. So now it can reference that inventory. And then what we're going to be doing is I'm just going to do console.log inventory. Save it. Let's run this. And then I'll go to my browser, localhost 3000. And if I right click and inspect, we can see somewhere in our console if we have any errors or what's showing up. And you can see here now we have our object of information. We have books, and inside books, we have this information. Remember before we didn't have this other tab we had to open up. So here we have to open it up twice. In the last video we only had to open it up once. So if you open up once here, we still have this books key that we have to expand, and then now we got all the data. So it's nested within that object. So we're going to see how we can grab this information and store it. What I'm going to be doing now is I'm just going to set up the use state that will store the information. And I'm going to use curly brace brackets inside these regular brackets because I want to call inventory, paste it inside, or I want to put it inside this use state so I could call the use state later. And I'm going to then set up the information right here to loop through it. I'm going to call item from our use state, and I'll have to call inventory. If I put a dot, you could see there's something special, this value property, inventory. So if I hit enter, then I have to also put another period and go into books, because remember, books is what contains all of our data. Now we can check, and we can actually iterate through it. Dot map. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call I, so then each time it iterates through, I'm going to call the year published again. And of course we need to make this unique, right? So we have a key, and then we have index. And now if I save that and I go back to my browser, you can see here I have all the years published here on my browser again. And now what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to show you how we could filter through some of this stuff. So let's say I copy this. So I just copy the exact same format we had right here above. And what I'm going to do instead this time is I'm going to filter through all this. But instead of year published, I'm going to get the title. But I only want to get the title if whatever I call the year published is greater than 2010. So as long as it's greater than the year 2010, then I will return the information I need. So if I save it and I go back to the browser, you can see here now at the bottom, remember the first time we iterated through, we just got the year, but now at the second one at the bottom, we're iterating through and only grabbing the titles that are greater than 2010. And we know it's true because if we open up one of them, so here, 2008, the title is JavaScript, the good parts. We do not see it on our screen here because it got filtered out from the if statement. So again, this is the code here. I'm going to be pasting a link as well to the GitHub repository if you want to take a look as well.